Welcome to DD303 Cognitive Psychology. This is an introduction to the module, and also just to let you know that we've got a parallel session coming up running face-to-face as a tutorial, and we've also going to have an online activity that you can participate in should you not be able to come along to the tutorial. So here we're just going to have an overview of cognitive psychology, and we're going to have an activity here and online and at the tutorial. So if you can't make one, then don't worry about it. It would be really great if you can participate on the forum, and it would be fantastic if you could come along and we could meet each other in person, but don't worry if that's not possible. You can just take part in this. So we're going to be looking at a number of different things in cognitive psychology. So you might already know that cognitive psychology is about the processes that happen in our minds. So behaviourists looked at what was observable and measurable. In other words, they looked at behaviour, which you can see objectively. Whereas cognitive psychologists try to infer or try to figure out what is going on inside people's minds through measuring and observing behaviours. But they're trying to figure out what's inside that black box, if you like. Now, to date, we've learnt quite a lot, and of course we've got new neuroimaging technologies as well as the behavioural experiments that we've got in cognitive psychology, and so we've got a real wealth of information, but it can be a little bit dry. So what we're going to try and do is have a look at the way that some of these processes actually affect our day-to-day lives. So I'm going to start with me. So as you probably know by now, my name is Rebecca Semmons-Wheeler, but who am I? So now might be a good time to pause this if you haven't already got a pen and paper, and just to make some notes, because I'm going to ask you to write down what you think in response to these questions about who I am. So this is an easy one we're going to start with, but what gender do you think I might be? Am I a male or am I female, or could I be even transgender? What height am I? Am I really tall, or am I quite short, or am I just average height? What does my voice sound like to you? Could there be any correlation? What do other people whom you've met sound like? How tall were they? How old am I? Am I quite young and sprightly, or am I older and sprightly? Am I middle-aged? Am I a cat person, do you think, or a dog person, or neither? Listening to my voice, where do you think I come from? Which country? If you think I come from the UK, which region? What do you think my musical tastes might be? So we're just getting this information from my name, obviously the fact that you know that I'm a lecturer for the Open University, and from the sound of my voice. So we're going to come back to this a bit later on in time. We're going to come back to this online in discussion and in a face-to-face tutorial. I'm going to give you some extra hints as we go through, just a little bit more information, and then you can go back and you can see if you still think the same thing about any of the answers that you put. So again, just making some notes. Okay, so this is what I look like, or rather what I looked like when I was about 18. And what impression would you have if you saw this photo, which is from about 7 or 8 years ago? Giving you a hint to my age. Or this one from a few months ago when I graduated with my PhD. So you're just noticing the different impressions that we get when we look at people. What about the man in the background? Well, there's two men in the background. What impressions do you think, what would you answer for them just seeing their pictures without hearing their voices? And this is what I look like now. Okay. So you've made some judgments and some decisions based on some information, and as I said, we're going to use that in the future in the face-to-face tutorial and in our online week tutorial. So we're going to have a tutorial sort of online on the forum that's going to last about a week. So just keep a hold of that information for now, those notes that you've written down. Now we're going to move on to the next part. So the idea here is to figure out what we're talking about. So I'm going to read this out to you. The preparations are the tedious part of it all. Thereafter, of course, even sheer novelty can be quite tiring. So all in all, the first part is likely to be fraught and you collapse exhausted at the end of the day. Then there are strange textures and smells. For a brief moment you long for normality, for the commonplace. Establishing a routine is probably not possible at first. When you do, you can relax a little more and start enjoying the whole business. However, all too often, it's just when you're beginning to enjoy yourself most that the whole thing comes to an abrupt end. Again, precious time is spent on preparations, and again there are long moments of boredom. Soon it's all over, but at least you're left with the memories. Okay, so make a note of what you think that might be. You're welcome to come back to that as well. And we can post on the forum as well. So what are our guesses as to what this is talking about? So memory is something that we will have used so far. So we'll be drawing on our memories and schemas. So these are frameworks that are based on memories and perceptions from the past. And this is a massive factor in our lives. And we're going to be looking over the course at people who have different types of memory loss, because we've got different types of memory, and how that affects us. And we're also going to be looking at language as well. So the types of language that people use can really affect our impressions of them. And we process language in different ways. We can have language deficits, so we've got language production or speaking or writing, and then we've got language comprehension or understanding as well. Got perception, so that could be object or person perception, and then object and face recognition. And emotion. We've also got attention, which hopefully you've been paying some of during this little video. And these are some factors that we're going to be looking at throughout the course, and we'll see how they relate back to this first activity that we've done here. So your task is going to be to post a picture of yourself and to have other people answer the same questions about you that I've asked you, so about me. So what is your gender, your height, your age, you're a cat or a dog person, where are you from, and what are your musical tastes? So I will post that up on the forum for you, and we're also going to do that in face-to-face as well. So we'll have that as an activity if you come along to the tutorial, and it'll be a way of getting to know other people on the course as well. So now you can go ahead and post on the forum.